Hello everyone! Welcome to another video on our channel. Today we have a special and very intriguing topic to explore. Magnetic sexing in cockatiels. Finding out precisely whether a cockatiel is male or female is the desire of many breeders and enthusiasts of these fascinating birds around the world. Several techniques have been developed over the years, some more complex and others more accessible. But few are as simple and promising as the one we are going to present today, the technique of magnetism. Get ready to experience a unique approach that may surprise you with its simplicity and efficiency. There is a popular saying that goes, "No one is made of iron," and in a way this also applies to our birds. Just like us, cockatiels have a natural magnetism in their bodies, resulting from the subtle energies that flow through all living beings. It was based on this concept that an American breeder developed an innovative technique that promises to reveal the sex of a cockatiel using these magnetic energies. Although not 100% accurate, this technique has shown impressive results, with a success rate of around 90%. This means that with a little patience and practice, you can find out the sex of your bird without having to resort to more invasive or expensive tests. Let's dive into this fascinating method and see how it works in practice. But before trying, it is necessary to manufacture a specific tool to perform the test. If you or someone close to you is esoteric, you may already have a dowsing pendulum which works very well for this type of experiment. However, if you don't have a pendulum at your disposal, don't worry, as it is possible to create your own in a very simple and quick way. All you'll need is a thread or even a piece of dental floss that's approximately a palm long. At the end, you can tie a metal object such as a nail, a screw, or even a paper clip. Here, for example, I'm using a paper clip which is easy to find. Once you have tied the object, your pendulum will be ready for use. Now, you might be wondering how this works, and the truth is that the explanation behind this technique is still somewhat mysterious. Apparently, the magnetic field in the male's body differs from the magnetic field in the female's body, which causes a distinct reaction in the pendulum when it approaches a bird. This magnetic difference is not visible to the naked eye, but according to the creator of the technique, it is noticeable through the movement of the pendulum. While there is no detailed scientific explanation as to exactly why this occurs, it seems that the technique is based on the idea that the bird's energy field or aura can influence the pendulum in specific ways. Interestingly, the older the bird, the more evident this difference becomes, which, according to reports, can increase the accuracy of the pendulum reading. This peculiar detail has intrigued many cockatiel breeders and enthusiasts, arousing both curiosity and skepticism regarding the effectiveness of this unconventional but fascinating technique. To start applying the test, it is important to follow a few simple instructions. First, you'll hold the pendulum and let it completely stop. Make sure you are in a quiet environment without drafts or sudden movements that could interfere with the experiment. Slowly move the pendulum closer to the cockatiel's head, ensuring that it is as calm as possible. If your bird is very agitated and has difficulty keeping its head still, you can try to move the pendulum closer to its back. However, the crucial point is to keep the pendulum on the bird for a few moments, allowing the object to react to the cockatiel's energy field without interruptions. The process is quite simple, but it requires patience and attention to detail. First, stop the pendulum completely, holding it until it is fully still. Then, place the bird directly under the pendulum and watch what happens next. Within a few seconds, the pendulum should begin to move, indicating a reaction to the cockatiel's magnetic field. Interpretation of the movements is also relatively easy. If the pendulum begins to move back and forth in a straight line, this indicates that the bird is a male. On the other hand, if the pendulum begins to make circular movements, the reading indicates that it is a female. This technique, while simple, requires a certain degree of sensitivity and practice to master, but over time, the results can be surprisingly accurate. Today, I decided to put this technique to the test, and for that, I brought 4 birds of different ages and temperaments, The goal is to check if this technique really works the way they say it, and at the same time to test my own skills in using the pendulum, since honestly I have never tried this before. I admit that I'm a little anxious, but also curious to see if I can get accurate results. I'm going to start with an adult, who is usually calmer and has a higher chance of being quiet long enough for the test to work properly. The idea is to observe how the pendulum reacts to each of the birds and compare the results. Will I be able to identify the sex of each of them accurately? Will the pendulum respond in the expected way? Also, I'm interested to see if there is any noticeable difference between younger and older birds, as the theory suggests. Although I am confident in the process, I know that I need to keep an open mind. After all, this type of technique can require a little practice and patience to master. Let's see how this experience will unfold, and of course, share what I learn along the way. Well, the first test was done, and the results were clear. The pendulum responded with back and forth movements, indicating an adult male. Now, test the procedure with a female. And voila! Here we have an adult female. And the pendulum has moved in circles, confirming the result. Tested and approved. After a successful trial with the adult bird, I decided to experiment with the younger cockatiel. Of course, young people tend to be more agitated, so I expected a little more challenge. When I tried to perform the test, I noticed that she was restless and could not sit still. To get around this, I held her carefully, trying to keep her comfortable while I adjusted the pendulum over her. With a little patience, I managed to stabilize the situation. Ready! After a few seconds of waiting, the pendulum began to move from front to back, which, according to the technique, indicates that it is a male. Guys, the technique really works. I was surprised by the consistent response of the pendulum, although we cannot say that it is 100% accurate, because the creator of the technique himself does not make this promise. He mentions an accuracy of about 90%. And so far, this precision seems to be confirmed in practice. It is worth mentioning that, when using magnetism, some care is necessary to ensure more reliable results. For example, it is important to move away from any metal object that may interfere with the reading. In my first test, I was wearing a ring which could have altered the movements of the pendulum. So here's the tip. Before starting, make sure your hands are free of metallic objects and choose an environment without external influences that could affect the experiment. This increases the chances of getting a more accurate and reliable reading. I hope you enjoyed learning about this new way of sexing cockatiels, which uses the pendulum to identify the sex of birds in a simple and quick way. Test it yourself right there in your homes to testify that it actually works. Maybe in my video the movements were not so visible. I just want to reinforce an important point. Although this technique is interesting and has shown promising results, it is not entirely infallible. Therefore, it is always a good idea to combine it with other techniques, such as the pelvic bone touch technique, which is also widely used by experienced breeders. There are several ways to identify the sex of birds, and this pendulum is just one of them. If you're eager to find out your cockatiel's sex before resorting to more accurate lab tests, the pendulum can help alleviate some of that anxiety and perhaps even provide a preliminary answer as you prepare for safer, more definitive methods. According to the creator of the technique, it tends to work better in adult birds due to the greater stability of magnetic fields in older animals. So, in addition to using the pendulum, it is also important to observe the bird's behavior, which can provide valuable clues about its sex. To conclude, I hope this technique has brought a new perspective on cockatiel sexing and helped open your mind to alternative and fascinating methods. Even if it's not foolproof, the pendulum can be a useful tool and, at the very least, instigate your curiosity about the behavior and energies of these amazing birds. But don't stop here. The world of cockatiels is full of mysteries and surprising details that you can still explore. If you liked the video, Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive more valuable tips like this. Leave your like, it helps the channel grow. And share it with your friends who are also passionate about cockatiels and other birds. Also, I'd love to hear what you think. Leave your opinion in the comments and let me know where you're watching us from. Your participation is very important. And there's more. Now that you've learned this interesting technique, an upcoming video will appear on the screen that you need to check out. Click on the link and discover another secret that can help even more in the care of your cockatiel. Don't miss this opportunity. See you there.